you get into a trial and their alert profile changes. So I just had to go on my gut from watching.
Welcome back. You should have gotten through the kind of the building blocks of scent detection. I didn't really go into it too much. Like I said, this series is more for people that are already into it. Um, I will be delving back into those in much more detail because there is a lot to go over. And we are going to go over a couple of searches. We're going to go over one that's actually a video, and then I'm going to go over one on the whiteboard from a video. And it's not just the guessing; it's the misses. You're going to see these dogs average about a 50% PCD rate, percent correct detection. So here we go. And I call it, is this really a search? Because that's what I asked. It's actually what several trainers asked when they saw it. Is this real? And it is. And judges, trainers, associations, this is where I say you need to step up. And I'm going to point out what's going on, what I see, and what can happen. And then later we'll talk about where we can go, because it's not very hard to get to the level that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, canine level. No. But you can still get the accuracy, and you can get rid of the guessing, and you can make sure that the best dog wins. Because in some of these cases, the best dog is not winning. Here we go.
So I started this recording a little bit late. So we already went around one side of the barn, but this is a 360 of a barn, and it's a lot of space. So here we're going to come up on the very first hide, watching her intently. Goes up, looks up. I don't call it there because I don't want to make any mistakes. But then when she jumps,
Good girl. Oh, what a good girl. What a nice find right off the bat. There you go. Anything else? Let's just run it in here real quick. Come here.
I probably
Anything in
could have
here?
left at this point, but I'm just trying to be thorough on elite searches. She sticks her nose here, and I'm just thinking that's crittering, and I was right.
All right.
Seems like I left her
I
so
think that's
long on
crittering.
that. I probably wasted
All
some
right.
time there, but
Find it.
I love what she does here. She goes right across. We'd already come into that area. I didn't really need the whistle there. I just wanted her attention. Now I know she's onto something here. Just giving her because she's still new at this elite game. I'm just giving her time, but I'm going to call it.
Alert. Good
That's the one
girl.
thing that I found was really
Good
interesting in
girl.
this search,
What a good
and
girl. All right.
usually she
Find it.
will alert every time, but that happens, and that happened with Griff, where you get into a trial
Find
and
it.
their
Come on.
alert profile changes. So I just had to go on my gut from watching her and training with her and call it. Now here we're able to go through this area,
All right. So we can
so we
toss
don't have to
through.
go back up and
All right.
around. So
Come on.
we take that
It's not trick.
opportunity to save time.
Come on. Find it.
And I notice also I'm saying find it a lot to Hana, and I don't usually, but with her, I
All
feel
right.
like she
Come on.
needs it a little bit,
Find it.
just a little bit of guidance. So we're back in the search. Now watch this. This is really interesting, just how strong dogs are. She is pulling toward odor right to this bucket of. That's where it is, and I don't call it because she looks the other way. She kind
Where?
of looks at me, and then I
Where
give
is
her
it?
a. I want her to go look because I'm pretty sure it's in there.
Alert.
There we
Good
go.
girl. you just know that'll. Sorry.
I drop a
It's on
treat.
me.
I
Come
got a
on.
fault
Find it.
there. Oh, I'm so mad, but I was so happy that she was doing well. So, hot dog fell out of my hand. Oh well,
Come here. I'm
no more
brushing
hot
you.
dogs. I wanted to go back in this corner. I, I, with her and her inexperience and me still getting used to handling her, unlike Griff, I just want to make sure she goes into those areas.
Come on. Let's go
Now, see,
check
this is
it
where
out.
she's looking at me, and
Come here. Find it.
I give her that command again. It just, Griff is always, I did it when he was young because I was inexperienced, but he is always looking. So I just want to make sure that we do our due diligence here and search these. Everything's clear. So far, we have 3 hides. It's an unknown number of hides. The total time of the search was 6 minutes.
Come on.
She wants to say hi to everyone. She loves people. Now, here is where, man, I just about called it, but she did not look at me. So patience really saved me. Now, she goes over the fence. There's nothing over there. That's off. So I call her over. I just want her to stay over here. This is my sweet moonwalk. I just walk backwards, feeling so cool when I do that. But I'm glad I did because here, I just,
Alert.
and there I am.
Good
I'm
girl.
calling it
Such a
again.
good girl.
I
That
don't
is
know.
so
I just
good.
had,
That is so
was
good.
watching her
All
so
right, let's check down
carefully.
here. Come on. Find it. Alert.
And there I go.
Good
I call it.
girl. Well, here you go. What a good girl. Anything else? Let's check these. Find it. Thank you.
So they give
Look
me a
for it.
30-second
Come here.
warning.
You ready? You ready? Find it.
She hasn't covered this. So I just, it's unknown number of hides. This is all uncovered right in there. Now, this is where we came in and I forgot to record in time. So I'm just looking at my watch.
Finish.
So the dog goes in. He starts right about here is where the filming starts. Dog goes like this. Kind of hem-haws around. Jumps up. Puts his nose on it. Looks at the handler. So we're going to call that a hit. Then dog goes from there. Goes out. These are pallets. Comes around. Comes over here and smells and smells, smells and smells. I want to say for like 14 seconds. And the handler says, you know what? I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to call it. So that's a miss for the dog because the dog gave no final response. And that's also a handler error for not waiting for that dog. From there, they go around, go through this little area. Over here, he says the dog pulls him this way. Dog goes, smells, walks away. That's a miss. The handler's like, I really think something's there. So he brings the dog back. Dog still shows no response. But he calls it. He says he's going with his gut. Now, he also gets faulted for dropping a treat. From there, Dog goes back this way. Searches. Come back. Puts his nose right in that bucket. Miss number 4. Because he just walks on by. Comes out. Smells around here. He says he doesn't call it. He just doesn't call it. Dog goes over here. Goes back this way. Hits this one. I'm not going to call it a miss because, I mean, honestly, that was a handler error. The handler was not presenting. He could tell, you can see the dog is not searching at all. So I mean, it's still a miss, but it's a handler error. So we're gonna count it as both. Then goes a little further. Again, he uses his gut. But I do see some change in the dog. So we're going to go ahead and give this. But we're going to give him this because he didn't actually let the dog do the responding. He just used his gut. From there, dog goes back this way. Comes right through here. Right by that. Doesn't throw a change. Does nothing. That odor has not changed. Remember, the dog pulled him this way. Just to walk away from it. So that is going to be miss number 4. On just that one aid. So the dog should understand discriminative stimulus response, stimulus consequence. This is the building block of all scent detection. And it's discriminative stimulus is odor. The response is to go to the source of odor and give a final response. And the consequence is they get reinforced. Then you have the handler in the video. His discriminative stimulus should be that he sees the dog throw a change and he should do nothing. Just let the dog work. Let the dog make the decision. And when it finds it, he gets reinforced, knowing that he trained a good dog. Here, we have another handler. It could be you. So in the video, instead of when he sees a dog throw a change, he goes off of experience and he sees the dog not responding the way he wants. So what does he do instead of doing nothing and letting the dog work? He guesses. He goes with his gut. And he guesses right. He gets reinforced. And the dog gets reinforced too. But it's not really sure why. We don't know if it actually was an odor. And handler number 2, which could be you see your dog throw a change and you do the correct thing, which is nothing. You let the dog work. And your dog finds it and gets reinforced. And you get reinforced because your dog does well. He finds them. You know you trained a good dog. Your dog understands what discriminative stimulus, response, stimulus, consequences. It understands odor, go to source, final response. But the guy that guessed, his time was 6:25. And the handler that had the better dog Their time was 6:30. The guy that guessed, he gets rewarded because he has the lower time. And the guy that let his dog work, he gets punished because he loses. So what does the second handler do? Next time he sees his dog throw a change, well, he lost last time. So he's not going to wait for his dog to go to final response. He's learning. He's going to guess. He's going to go with his gut like the other guy. And he too guesses right. So he gets reinforced. And the dog gets reinforced. But it doesn't know why. It didn't go to final response like it usually did. And the guy keeps doing this. Handler 2 does this again and again. And each time, his time goes down. He gets reinforced for guessing, going with his gut. He doesn't always get it, but for the most part, he does. And the dog, well, the dog keeps getting reinforced, but it's not sure why, while the handler is now on an intermittent schedule of reinforcement for guessing, the strongest schedule of reinforcement that there is. And we have a dog that doesn't understand why it's being reinforced, and we have a handler that no longer relies on his dog. And that behavior of doing nothing and letting the dog work has now been extinguished. He now goes with his gut. He guesses. Now, we have 2 handlers that go with their gut instead of looking at the dog. And now the dog, well, the dog's just a prop now because it doesn't matter what the dog does. Those handlers are going to go with their guts, with what they think, where they think the aid is. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I've had trainers that have viewed this before. Of course, I released it, and I've had trainers that have been in scent detection competitions for a couple of years, and they watched it and was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And they said, because that's how it really is. And I never realized what it does to me, what I did, that I do that. I've started to do that. And it doesn't have to be that way. This guessing is, there's another video. I'm going to put a link to it on here where the dog had actually passed the odor, probably like 3 times. And she got the 30-second warning, and the dog was working the odor for the final aid, and she was letting her work it. And right when the dog looked like it was getting close to source, they called time. And she says, you know what? I knew I should have called that sooner. I knew I should have called that sooner. She was letting her dog work. And she got called time. And now what is she going to do? She's already said it. I should have called it sooner. That's not how scent detection works. It's not up to us to make that final call. It's up to the dog. That's who makes the final call. Because could you imagine, and this does happen, a police officer Going, oh yeah, I think, yeah, I'm going to call that. You know how many times people's Fourth Amendment rights have been violated because of stuff like that? Now they're fixing it. But, you know, for the longest time, they did the same thing. It wasn't until people started suing them that they changed. But, you know, you have a trainer, someone that, you know, I was either an elite or a summit. It was one of the higher up ones saying, I knew I should have called that sooner. That is what you guys are building. The better dog is not winning. You know, there's another video where the dog, you know, it's like 20 feet of bench, and the dog responds a good 15 feet away from source, and they give her credit. They say yes. Then the dog keeps going, and then the dog responds again at source, and they say yes again. Come on, judges. 15 feet away? Is it a bomb dog? No. Mm-mm. And she won. What about the dog that didn't respond that 15 feet away? Just responded right there at source, but maybe was a second slower. How was that fair? And, you know, with the search that I went into, one of the things that I thought was, I couldn't believe was, you know, someone commented, such good teamwork. I often feel like people have a psychic connection with their dogs in terms of what they call and what they don't. No, we don't. Mm-mm. We don't have a psychic connection. The whole point of a dog doing detection work is for that dog to make the decision, not us. And he said, what's even worse, I agree so much with your comment about the connection. I also feel it's micro expressions, movements our brain picks up, but we're not completely conscious of. I also feel it's micro expressions, movements our brain picks up, but we're not completely conscious of. And I do think practice has a lot to do with it. Is it trusting our gut, which is really trusting that little unheard voice in our head? There was a container search I did with her once, and she was looking like she was alerting, but I held my cool and we nailed the hides. But it took a look to make the right calls. I have no idea how I did that. The judge later commented on it. However, I've also blown a good deal of call with Griff in the early days. Meaning, right there, they're not letting the dogs make the call. A look is not an indication, not a final one, not at that level. A dog should have a final indication. It's not hard to teach. And before they go into these searches, when I was talking to the friend, the couple of friends that, you know, were, you know, saying how would they even fix that? I said, before you go in to the search area, you tell that judge, my dog's final response is this. Be a sit, a down, a scratch, a bark. It has to be the same. You hear him in the video say a response profile. Dogs don't have response profiles. They have a response, a final response. Could you imagine being on a bomb search and being like, oh yeah, their search profile tends to change. These dogs shouldn't even know that they're going into competition. When you go into a bomb threat, you can't let that dog know that this is any different than any other training situation. You let that heart rate go up, all that other stuff, it's going to rub off on the dog. If your dog understands discriminative stimulus response, stimulus consequence, and you know that your dog understands that, you have trained, you have done the correct training, not these guesses and these myths that are being passed around as far as fixing false responses and misses, because there is a way to do it. There is a formula. If you know that your dog has trained, going in there should be no different. Your heart rate should be the same. Everything should be the same. And you just go in there and you let your dog, Ellie. And you just go in there and you let your dog work. You know, you tell these judges, this is my dog's final response. And the dog, instead of the judge saying yes or no, when the dog responds, the judge writes it down. You don't get to call it. That dog gives its final response. The judge writes it down. And you move on. When everyone's done, you find out where you were right, where you were wrong. And you take that and you train. You want real world? That's real world. When you're out there searching 500 cars, 300 to 500 cars, you got a 3 to 4 hour search. Your dog responds. Who's going to tell you if you're right? Nobody. Do you get to reward the dog? No. You just walk and you keep going. So you let PD go in there and search. You have more cars to search. And the dog keeps searching with the same intensity. They're trained that way. It's not hard. And then at the end, you find out where you were right, where you were wrong. And you train. If you were wrong, you train. You find out everything about what. I mean, you should be writing it down anyways as you go. You carried these 24/7. Everything was written down. I mean, this is just training, but I mean, you write everything down. And you put it in your records. Instead of doing smoke machine stuff, why don't you analyze your records? That way you don't have 5 types of false responses, because there isn't 5 types of false response. That's just another catchphrase, like I said. So there you have it. That's my rundown of search. What makes me qualified to do it? Well, I've been doing it for a long time, and I did it for actual police departments, government agencies. I'd be behind a computer screen watching dash cam footage, speaking to attorneys about searches, where the dog was right, where the dog was wrong, if they had a case, if they didn't. You know, I think I said this earlier, but, you know, there was one person that was saying I needed to watch how I spoke to people that were older and more experienced. I'm older, but thank you. And I was being contracted out to the Department of Defense in other police departments 15 years before you even started training dogs. I just happened to start when I was young. And do I think I know everything? No. No, I'm still learning. There was a man that was friends with my dad, not friends with my dad. They were in the, they were both, he knew my dad, and he said he knew my dad well. They'd had a lot of conversations about scent detection as the canine side. And I was being a shithead, to be honest. And, he said, maybe you need to continue your education. And right when that happened, this is stupid, but my dad's song came on, and it never fails. The song could have just played, and if something's poignant going on, that song comes right back on. And that was my dad. I could feel it. My dad going, "Shut up. Listen to this guy." So I messaged him. I said, my dad always told me the day you think you know everything about training is the day you become a bad trainer. So teach me. Teach me what I'm not seeing. And I loved his course. I loved it. It's more to add to what I already knew. A lot of it was very similar to what I already knew. It was just one extra part of it, but it was a great part. And it really didn't change how scent detection was done. It took the handler more out of the picture. Made that dog the one who made the call, not the handler. It took the exact thing that I'm saying that these associations need to be done. That's the exact thing that my dad's always talked about, but this course also, the way he was doing it, it helped remove those handlers and let that dog make the decision. So, and I guess we go from there.